Genesis chapter 6, verse 21. You'll notice that we're skipping verse 20 because, in effect, it repeats a lot of verse 19. So let's press on with what they're going to do to eat with all these animals and people on the ark. Su de lempse seauto, apopanton ton bromaton, ha edeste, kai synagzes praseauton, kai estai soi, kai ekenois phagain. So notice once again we have Noah here being the focal point, but you, lempse here. This is from Lambano. It's a second singular future middle indicative here. And so that would be you will take. Notice the Masoretic at least has kak, which is an imperative. So the future here is being used to capture again an imperatival force. You will take for yourself, again, this second singular thrust that we've seen for several verses now. Apopanton, there's our phrase again we see all in the prior video, but now we're not taking from all the animals, we're taking from all the foods. The broma here is food. And again, it's still a second singular kind of frame of reference until we get to this relative pronoun plus the verb here. So this is referring back to the foods. It's an accusative plural. So it's referring to all the foods. But edeste here is a second plural future middle indicative from estheo. Estheo changes into strange things in the aorist in the future. And so now we're moving from a second singular with Noah to a second plural with his family and really perhaps even the animals. Y'all all collectively will eat all of this stuff. And then to reiterate the command here, kai sunagzes. Once again, a second singular, back to second singular future active. So you, Noah, will gather it all, praseauton, to yourself. So we see that yourself again. So once again, it's just like we got a second singular, second plural, second singular, and then kai estai soi. It will be to you, but notice it's also to them. So now there's a plural frame of reference once more. Phagain here is also from estheo, but in this case is aorist active infinitive, to eat. It will be for y'all to eat. So phagain here is a complementary infinitive to the estai there. On that note, it's interesting that the Masoretic as we have it, and let's assume that reflects the Proto-Masoretic tradition, has a noun here. La'akala, as opposed to the aorist infinitive. So I was curious about that. I looked this up in Weber's notes. He says this: the last clause in Hebrew has haya, modified by la'akala, which will be for you and for them as food. He says, by translating the last word, which again is a noun in Hebrew, as an infinitive phagain, modifying estai because it's a complementary infinitive, the Genesis translator introduces the notion of possibility. The last clause may be then translated, and you and they, that is the animals, but I would include the family as well, may eat. I thought that was an interesting comment. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that as the force of phagain there. I think it's more not so much that you may eat it, but that it's the purpose of what you're gathering all this for. I think more interesting is that he's essentially translated the la'akala there. You could argue that with the lamed, and then if you pointed this differently, or maybe it's missing the hey, you could see how you would get to this infinitive. It might look like an infinitive in Hebrew. So anyway, I thought difference of opinion there in terms of how that last word is being translated, but it is notable that it isn't exactly what we see in the Hebrew tradition. So anyway, they're going to have a lot of food to eat. That's good stuff. We'll see you next time.